Alright, welcome back to the channel where we are making a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. I wanted to just do a something we haven't done on the channel in a while, which is the artist prayer that we wrote. What is it? Artist prayer .git. Nice. So if we go into this repo here, we'll see that we have a .c file, so we can compile it with GCC. Artist prayer, that gives us an a.out, and we can run this a.out. So here is a artist prayer that we haven't done on the channel for a while. O great muse, gift us with your presence, and we shall commit to the work of showing up. Let us handle the quantity, and you handle the quality. Help us love ourselves, so we can love others. Help us grow, so we can help others grow. Please alert us when we are on the wrong path, by showing us interesting new directions to follow. Let us not get wrapped up in the end product, but in the process itself. Help us love the present and work out of it, not for an imaginary future, but to make art for its own sake and its own beauty. Grant us the courage to try and the confidence for having done so. Help us unite with other creators so we can encourage each other. If we are depressed, help us cling to what is beautiful in the moment and help nudge us towards contentment, even in difficult times. We promise to offer our work to you consistently, and we will listen to where our hearts tell us to go. We dedicate our creations to you, and they do not belong to us, for we were only gifted the idea through the ether, and we are merely forging it and returning it to the universe. Allow us to realize we all deserve love, and that we are all the same divine light. We cannot be alone when we realize this. We create in honor of each other's divinity. Please accept our gifts, as they are only made possible through your grace. Okay, so today I'm thinking we're going to be working on our touch detection for our loot system here. So if we pull up our loot, we equip our loot and pull up loot. We have frets 1 and 2 here. It's just that these don't work on touch. So we have to find a way to... The difficult thing is we have a table that was released, so we can say, hey, let's take all of the frets. fretsHeld is the table, the global table that we're inputting which fret is being held in, and we're saying, hey, if O is released, then go through the fretsHeld table and take out any value that is equal to fret 1 or whatever. We don't have that equivalent on the touch detection. So we have a callback function for the touch released, but that gets called whenever we let go of a touch. That doesn't necessarily change when we let go of a touch on a certain area that is colliding with a B button or an A button, which is what the frets are. So we have to think of a way to kind of do this so that we can get it working on our touch detection. So we tried to fix this. So we do have, and this is where, look at this. So this is the callback. love.touchPressed. And we're all these parameters here are given to us by the Love2d engine. And we're just saying that, hey, we're going to go into our touches ID table right here. Touches is a table at index ID, which is a unique identifier from the TouchPressed callback. And we're setting all of our parameters from that callback to be equal to the corresponding values inside our touches ID table. And then we are, this push to game is taking our X and Y from our touch and rescaling it to whatever push, which is our library to resize the screen depending on what screen size we're at. We're translating the X and Y to be whatever the translated X and Y is going to be, and we store them in a touch ID X and Y. And then we're checking for collision for the start button. Then we have a touched move callback, which is just updating the X and Y, as well as DX and DY. And then this touch released is the last of the 3 callbacks for our touch functions. And we're saying, what are we doing here? Because I know we tried to do this already. We tried to get the fretsHeld to be appropriate. So let's see what we're doing here. We're saying if there is a value in our fretsHeld table, we're going to cycle through all the values of our fretsHeld table. If the value is equal to B, meaning the button that we pressed is equal to B, then we're going to say if V is equal to 1, which is the value in our fretsHeld table. So fretsHeld is a table that holds indexes like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so on, however many frets held we have. But then the value is the actual we can look at this. We can look at which fretsHeld we're doing here. Let's see this. Oh no. Okay. Yeah, let me see if we do a global search for fretsHeld. Let's see where we're doing the global table, right? So here in the loot class, we have a fretsHeld. Okay. And then we're cycling through our touches, and if our touch collides with the right D-pad and the fretsHeld is 0, meaning open string, we play the F1. If fretsHeld is 1, we play the G1. fretsHeld is 2. So fretsHeld is literally 0 for an open string, 1 for the first fret held, 2 for the second fretsHeld. And then What throws me off is we tried to fix this already and it didn't work, and that code is in here somewhere. So we have to kind of take apart, we have to kind of dissect what didn't work from the last time we tried to do it and try to fix it, which is tough. I don't think I like the double idea for fretsHeld here for the callback function. That is in the loot class. I think that's all okay. Because we're using the fretsHeld table to determine what sound we play when we press a D-pad button for the touch. And that's what we're trying to fix. We're trying to fix we need the frets held on the touch device to reset to 0 if there's no touch detection on the A or B button. And then B needs to overwrite open string, and the A button needs to overwrite both open string and B string, or first fret string. So there's a lot going on. So we have fretsHeld being modified in our touches ID in our touch handling class. We also have it in our play state. We also have it in our loot state. So there's 3 aspects, 3 points of our code that we could be screwing this up at. And what's extra tough is that we can't test this code unless it's on a device with touch capability. So what that means is we have to git commit and push, swap it to our Mac, git pull, recompile, redeploy to our web, and then we can test the mobile deployment. So there's a ton of steps it takes just to even see if one thing we change does anything on our phone, because we can't test touch on the PC here. So that's an extra step of friction we've got. Oh my goodness. Okay. It's really tough. It's really tough to know the whole code base, right? Like, I don't know what could be overriding what unless I look at everything in the code base. I mean, you know, granted I wrote it, but it looks like we have fretsHeld is a local variable. It's a local table to our loot class. And the first thing we're doing is initializing it to be empty. And then we check for D-pad collisions on our mobile deployment here. And we're saying if we collide with the right button, any of our touches collide, then we're going to check how many frets are held. Okay, so this is just how we play and refresh the animation. But if we go past that, there's 8 of those different strings and sounds. Here we go. Okay, so I think this is what we're missing in our mobile deployment, is we're not inserting a value into fretsHeld. Right here, if O is pressed, which is the B button, if O is pressed or if O is continuously down, we're going to insert fretsHeld, insert into the table fretsHeld the value of 1. If P is pressed, we're going to insert the value of 2. Then if we release O, here's where we cycle through all the fretsHeld. And if the value in any of those indexes in fretsHeld is equal to 1, meaning if 1 was held and B was released, then we're going to take out the index, the key of the fretsHeld table where the value is equal to 1. So we're going to take out from our fretsHeld the corresponding value for the fret being held if it was released. Same with P. P is our A button. We're going to cycle through all the buttons that are held, all the frets that are held, both A and B. If the value is equal to 2, that means if our A button was pressed, then we're going to remove the value, actually the key, that is equal to the value of 2. So we're going to remove the P press from our fretsHeld. Then we're going to say, and this is where we do the kind of Guitar Hero fret overwrite, where we're going to say highest gets assigned to be equal to 0. We're going to cycle through all the fretsHeld, and then if the value is greater than the highest gets assigned whatever value in fretsHeld. Now fretsHeld is either 1 or 2. If B is pressed, fret 1 is. If A is pressed, fret 2 is the value here. You're doing a game jam, RGB. You don't know whether you want pixel art or vector art. Yo, go for pixel art, bro. Just go for pixel art. That's what I say. Yeah, man, if it's a game jam, you got so little time, you know? You gotta... I feel like... I'm always been a big believer in... If a game isn't fun when it's low poly, low res, then it's not going to be fun when it looks amazing, right? I think of Celeste when you're playing Celeste and then you get the Pico 8 Celeste. Pico 8 Celeste is like just as fun as regular Celeste, right? So like it's not the pixels, it's not the art that matters, it's the execution and the programming that I think makes it special. So I say go for pixel art. Okay, what are we doing here? This is weird. So if we have more than one fret held, we're going to clear our fretsHeld table, and then we're going to insert into our fretsHeld table the highest, which is the value of the fretsHeld that was the biggest, right? So this is our way of doing the Guitar Hero, where 1 will overwrite an open string, fret 2 will overwrite both an open string and a fret 1. We only care about the highest fret being held. So either, you know, the priority goes from B to A to open string. So if B is held, it overwrites anything that fret 1 might be doing. It overwrites the open string. That's what we're doing here. And then here is where we're doing the keyboard version of it. Okay, so the last time I checked this, the mobile deployment did work in the sense that it starts off with open strings. So our D-pad can go from right to down to left to up. Half step, half step, half step, half step. It's just that when we press a fret, if we press B for the first time, it will register that we pressed B. It'll change our fretsHeld to be B, but we never release B upon a touch release. So the touch release is where we're screwing it up somewhere. So let's go back to where we're doing... Oh, this is really tough because we don't have a corresponding... For the desktop, it's easy because we can ask if love.keyboard.was released O, then go ahead and remove the value that is equal to the fretsHeld at index O. But for our touch, we don't have that ability because when we release a touch, we don't know. At the moment, we don't know which, if any, fret held corresponds to the touch that was released. We just don't have that. All we have is an X and Y from the touch release callback. So this is... It's really tough. It's really tough for multiple reasons. Okay, so if this is the beginning of our lute update, our first pass here is just taking our touches, seeing what we're colliding with, so we can determine which string to play, which sound to play. Actually, yeah, let's see. A1 pressed. A1 pressed. Wow, we don't do anything with that? Yo, what are we doing? How are we actually strumming if we're not using A1 pressed anywhere? So in our lute class, oh my goodness, we're not even using this anywhere. Every once in a while, I think about what I've done. And I think, why did I do this? Why did I start this? Like, why did I think I could pull this off? Why did I think I could make a whole video game, you know? Ay. Okay. What's crazy is like Lua is like, as far as languages go, Lua is like the most straightforward. Like, it doesn't get easier than Lua, in my opinion. It's just that in game dev is tough. I don't even know where to begin, man. Okay, so we're printing up the table of fretsHeld. So let's just make sure that is printing up in our lute state here. So we'll equip it, we'll play it, we'll actually quit out so we can make it bigger. fretsHeld 1 or 2, 1 or 2, 1 or 2, 1 or 2, okay? So for now, let's just test. Let's see what fretsHeld tables equal to on mobile, and then we'll just start there. So let's try it here on our Mac deployment, and we'll see what that's looking like. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna let's just screen share the phone and we'll see what it looks like. Here we go. So let's see if fretsHeld is anything near appropriate. So we'll equip our lute. We'll toggle our lute. See, look, it thinks fretsHeld is 1. And it doesn't matter if we press 1, if we let go of 1. And if we press 2, fretsHeld is 2. So something in our touch detection for the fretsHeld table is just jacked up. So we'll start there. Now we have this F1 pressed. We're not doing anything with that value. Because if we do a global search for that F1 pressed, all we do is swap it right here. So this is not right. So we need to know which D-pad this is corresponding to, so we know which direction we can modify our input table for our touch collision. So the sounds are working, so we're detecting the right collision. 5 seems to be right, so we'll go up here and we'll leave ourselves a note here that 5 is right. 7, 4, 2. So 7 is down. Four and 2. 2 is up. Which means 4 must be left. So instead of doing this Boolean assignment, we need to come into our frets table and assign that. So right now, our fretsHeld is incorrect for our touch. Okay, so here. We're going to cycle through our touches, which we're doing that right here. And you know what? I'm going to just comment this out because I don't think we need this. Okay. So as we're cycling through our touches, if our D-pad 5, which should be our right D-pad button, collides with any of our touches, and that touch was pressed for the first frame, then we're going to check our fretsHeld table. So yeah, we aren't doing anything special to our fretsHeld table depending on a collision. So that's probably where the issue is happening. So let's continue to dig, and I think here we go. So look at this. If we are pressed, if O is pressed or O is down, we insert into our fretsHeld table value 1, which as soon as we switch to a loot state on our mobile device, fretsHeld only has one value and it's 1. So somewhere we're setting this value equal to 1 only on the even on the touch. So we have to make sure, what are we doing here? We remove that. Okay. You know, I do not see where we're assigning our fretsHeld to be equal to a value of 1 for our touch detection. I just don't see it. I really don't see it. We initialize fretsHeld to be an empty table. We cycle valid note checker. Cycles through our active notes, the next active note, and if it's X and Y, okay. Valid timing, okay. Valid note checker is just for the Guitar Hero part of our loot state. In our loot update, we're doing this moving. We can get rid of that. Okay. So we're cycling through our touches. If our touch collides with the right D-pad, we're going to run valid note checker to see if it should be a green or red button as it scrolls by. If the number of frets being held is equal to 0, we play the bass note. If there's one value in there and that value is equal to 1, we're going to go ahead and play our next half step up. And if the value is equal to 2, we play the next half step up. And then I do not see where we're doing anything with the frets held for a touch collision. I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. I only see it here. Let's search for frets held and let's just see. There's, oh my god, there's 68 usages. Let's start at the top. Frets held. Okay. Yep, nothing. Okay. So uses 39, 34, 41, 42, 43, 44. Those are all fair. This is okay. Okay. This is confusing to me. If we're on a touch device, frets held should never be equal to 1 because we're not ever inserting anything into this table unless a keyboard 0 or O or P is being pressed, but that is not the case. We do have a frets held value being inserted. See, look, I didn't touch anything, and it thinks frets held is 1. So somewhere we're saying check the B press for an insertion of a frets held being 1, and also frets held being 2 if A button is pressed. So we're doing something wrong. I want to do a grep search because I think it's outside of the loot state, to be honest. Frets held. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're supposed to be releasing it. That is not working. Really, and that's only on the release. That is not working at all, though. Touch release, touch release. Here we go. Here we go. If buttons 2, which is our B button, collides with a touch, then we're going to insert into our frets held table. Okay, so this looks right. This looks like the right track. And then if buttons 1, which should be our A button, then we're going to check if the touches K field has a fret held equal to the value of A, and insert the value 2 into the frets held table at the index. Okay. I think this whole line of code... well, let's see. So we're cycling through our touches and we're trying to see if anything collides with the B button and if the item that is equipped in our item slot does not equal nil, meaning something is equipped, then we're going to check its type. If the type is equal to loot, then if we're not already in the loot state, then we're going to change into the loot state as well as change our player direction to down as well as the animation. If our buttons 3 collides, what is buttons 3? Buttons 3 is our select button. So if select is pressed, we're going to toggle help. But if we're in the loot state and select is pressed, we're just going to stop being in the loot state. So select either toggles help or takes us out of the loot state. Okay. And then buttons 2, which is this should be, this should be fret 1 or fret 2. Buttons 1 should be A, I believe. Yep. And buttons 2 is B. So we're saying, okay, well, if the button 2, if our B press is colliding with any of our touches, we're going to insert the value 1. This is wrong. This is wrong. Buttons 2. Oh, this is right. Because open string is open, fretsHeld 1 means B is held, which is right here. fretsHeld value 2 equals fret held equal to A. Okay. So the thing we're not doing is removing the fretsHeld values upon a touch release. And I don't know where we should do that. Do we do it in the play state or do we do it in the loot state? Part of me feels like we need to move all of this stuff into the loot state anyway, because we don't need to do any loot stuff unless we're in a loot state anyway. So let's go to our loot and we'll put, I don't know, right before our render and before our update, we'll just put in cycle through, change our global player's animation to down, toggle our loot state. Oh, our loot state needs to be in play state, right? Let's see. Seems to work fine. Okay. So if we keep our loot state here, our loot state trigger inside our loot class, we only update our loot class if we are in loot state. So whenever loot state gets triggered to false, that's when we don't. That's when we okay, so what we're missing is a table.remove from our fretsHeld table. So if we go to table, and actually let's do a grep search for a table.remove from our fretsHeld table. So let's do a grep search for table.remove from our fretsHeld, and we need to check any table that has, okay, where is this touch release? Okay, so first we'll check the loot class for a table.remove fretsHeld, and then we'll check our touch handling. So if If P is released, which is our A button, if that's released, we're going to cycle through our fretsHeld and look for a value 2 and remove that value from the fretsHeld. And we're going to look for a O being released, and we're going to cycle through, and every value that's equal to 1, we're going to remove the index of that fretsHeld. So let's go check out our touch detection and look for a table dot remove frets held. Okay. This has got to be where we're screwing it up. Because we have another callback outside of our touch handling, I'm pretty sure. What we're doing here is we're saying, okay, well, if the value of the touches ID dot frets held is not equal to nil, meaning if our touch, okay, so where do we do this touches ID frets held then? Touches at index ID fretsHeld. Wow, we only have no way. We're never populating this fretsHeld based on a touch detection, I'm pretty sure. We're basically saying as long as we have a value in our fretsHeld table for the touches ID, which I think is where we're screwing stuff up. So we should have a table dot insert into our fretsHeld. Upon a touch, like this. Fret held singular frets with a S here. Okay, let's try this. This might be it. We mistyped our field within our touch ID that's getting populated upon a press. Let's try this. Let's try it. We'll add testing removal of frets held on mobile, and we'll get push it. Let's try it. So in order to test it, we've got to pull our changes. We've got to build our new .love and WebAssembly, and then we need to deploy that to our website, like so. Now that it's deployed, let's check it out. Okay. So what we're looking for is frets held to be equal to no value. I can't even pull, damn it, I can't even pull our loot system in. Oh, fuck. Yeah, we can't even toggle our loot system anymore. y'all. We're stumped. We're not ever removing this value from our fretsHeld table, I don't believe, upon a touch release. fretsHeld. Okay. Touch released. Okay. Yo, but we don't have, hold on a sec, we don't have this value anywhere else. Touch released. I thought we for sure had this somewhere. Yeah, we nillify. Okay. If it's not nil, we're going to cycle through, take out the fretsHeld that's equal to the corresponding fretsHeld value. Value, okay. Yeah, I mean, not so successful. I don't feel like I'm making much progress, so I think we'll call it here. But I'll be back tomorrow and we'll try to get this figured out. Not such a successful stream, but we're gonna have nights like this. I mean, we're working on some tough stuff. You know, the fact that we're able to get a game deployed onto the web, playing like a Game Boy is a huge success. So we're just working out the kinks. So I'm super proud still, but we will get it working. Yeah, we're super laggy. Super laggy. Okay. Well, I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'll try to get some better progress done tomorrow. And we'll raid out here. Let's see who's streaming. We'll raid out to Hypnotic Games. All right, peace out. Have a good night, y'all. Thanks for watching.